All right, so we did a video on solving just linear inequalities. Now I'm going to move on to multi-step linear inequalities and compound inequalities, which just means that there are three parts to the inequality or two different sides of x in our course. So we're first going to review, draw a graph for each inequality. This one says x is less than or equal to 6. So find 6 on our number line. Less than or equal to, that equal to sign means it's a bracket. And it's going to be going in the less than direction. This one says b is greater than -6. So find -6. There is no equal, so it's going to be parentheses instead of a bracket, and then it's going to go towards the positive numbers. We're greater than -6. Write an inequality and write the answer in interval notation. Remember that an open circle is the same as the parentheses. Closed circle is the same as a bracket. So the interval notation for this is that we start with an open parenthesis symbol. That open parenthesis started at -12 and it goes on forever. So we write that as infinity. Okay, that means that x is greater than -12. It's not equal to -12 because that's an open circle or parentheses. Here we have 9 in interval notation. It starts with an arrow in the negative infinity direction. So that means I write negative infinity, and then it ends at 9, and it ends with a bracket including 9. The inequality then is x is less than 9, right? Because it's going towards the negative numbers or towards 0. And it's equal to 9 because of that bracket. Okay, here's what they mean by multi-step. Now we have 2 steps. 2m plus 1 is greater than 13, so you're just going to solve for your variable. Your variable is m, so I'm going to subtract 1. 13 minus 1 is 12. So we have 2m is greater than 12. Divide both sides by 2. We get m is greater than 6. Don't worry about changing that sign because nothing that we divided by was negative. M is greater than 6. So I'll just put 6 on my number line. It's greater than, so that means it's parentheses, not brackets, and then a line going in the direction of greater than or bigger numbers. Interval notation, parentheses, 6, comma, infinity, because it goes on forever. Now we have 4 times the quantity x plus 3 is less than or equal to 24. First thing you want to do is distribute that 4, or you can take that 4 and divide the 24 and divide all this by 4. But the more common way to do this is to distribute the 4. So we have 4x plus 4 times 3 is 12 is less than or equal to 24. Now it looks a lot like this one, right? Where we just do step by step, always do addition and subtraction before multiplication and division. So I'm going to subtract 12, subtract 12. 4x is less than or equal to 12, right? Because 24 minus 12 is 12. Divide by 4, divide by 4. X is less than or equal to 3. So I find 3 on my graph, I create 3 on my graph. Less than 3 means the arrow is going to go in this direction, and that equal to means it's a bracket. So we have negative infinity to positive 3. Here we have 3 is less than or equal to 5 minus 2x. If you're confused as to whether we're adding or subtracting 5, you can flip the position of these, right? That negative sign stays with the 2x, so it's negative 2x. The 5 does not have a minus in front of it, so it's negative 2x plus 5. 3 is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 5. We're now going to solve it for x, so we're going to subtract 5 right under the 3. Remember, when you're subtracting integers with different signs, we have a positive 3 and a negative 5. We're going to take 5 minus 3, that's 2. The 5 was the bigger number and it had a negative, so it's -2. Or just put it in your calculator. -2x. So -2 is less than or equal to -2x. Divide by -2. Divide by -2. Remember, when you are dividing by a negative number or multiplying by a negative number, that sign flips. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it over here. I'm going to change the sign. So instead of less than or equal to, it's going to be greater than or equal to. -2 divided by -2 is just a 1. -2x divided by -2 is x, or 1x. Good. I'm going to flip that around just because I like reading it from left to right with the x, or the variable, on the left. I like reading it from left to right with the variable on the left. So I'm going to say instead of x is greater than or equal to, or sorry, instead of 1 is greater than or equal to x, I'm going to say x is less than or equal to 1. Find 1 on that graph, create 1 on that graph. We said equal to, so it's going to be a bracket, and it's in the less than direction. That means for interval notation, it's going to start at -infinity and go to +1 and include a bracket. So these are two-step linear inequalities. Okay, we haven't gotten to compound inequalities, but we are adding more steps to the linear inequalities at this point. Here you have a fraction. So remember, anytime you want to get rid of a fraction, you look at the denominator and you multiply everything in that whole equation by the denominator. So here the denominator is 2, so we're going to multiply both sides by 2. You can also call it 2/1 if you're multiplying it by a fraction. Another thing about a fraction is its division. So to undo divided by 2, we multiply by 2. That just means that cancels, and I have w plus 3, or w plus 3/1, but that's still just w plus 3, is greater than 6 times 2 is 12. Good? All right. We got rid of that scary fraction by multiplying by the bottom of that fraction. W plus 3 is 12, is greater than 12, so we're going to subtract 3, W is greater than 9, sorry. So here's 9, greater than 9 means we're going to the right, and it does not include 9. So our interval notation is parentheses 9, comma, infinity, close the parentheses. Here, we still have single linear inequalities, but maybe you have a fraction, maybe you have x. Ooh, x is everything's a negative, and here we're distributing the 5. So just some different situations. So I'm going to distribute the 5. 5 times z is 5z. 5 times 6 is 30, right? Is less than or equal to 40. So we're going to subtract the 30. 5z is less than or equal to 40 minus 30 is 10, divided by 5, divided by 5. Z is less than or equal to 10 divided by 5 is 2. The graph for z is less than or equal to 2. We'll start with 2. We're going to go in the less than direction, and it could be equal to, so it's going to be a bracket. So that'll be -infinity, 2, bracketed. Good. All right, -12 is greater than -4x minus 8. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. 12 minus 8 is 4, but the 12 is negative, so it's a -4 is greater than -4x. Divide by -4. -4 divided by -4 is a +1. -4x divided by -4x is just an x, but because we were dividing by a negative, we flip the sign. So now it's x is greater than 1. Here's 1. Greater than direction is that way. Parentheses 1 to infinity. Sorry, you couldn't see that. All right, here we have the quantity 3n minus 8 divided by 5 greater than or equal to 2. Just like before with this 2, we want to get rid of it by multiplying both sides by that denominator. So we're going to multiply by 5. multiply by 5. Don't worry about changing the sign because it's a positive 5. That 5 gets rid of the 5 on the bottom, and I just have 3n minus 8, same sign, greater than or equal to 2 minus times 5 is 10. Add 8, add 8. 3n is greater than or equal to 18. Divide by 3, divide by 3. N, is greater than or equal to 6. Here's 6 on my number line, greater than with a bracket. So it'll be bracket 6 to infinity parentheses. 11y plus 13 is greater than or equal to -1. Subtract 13, we get -14. 11y is greater than or equal to -14. Divide by 11, divide by 11. Here we have y is greater than or equal to -14 elevenths. You can just leave it like that. Now you have to figure out where is 14 elevenths. Well, I guess you don't. Well, they might label it for you. So if this is 0 and this is -1, that's not a good scale. Right on the bottom. Here's 0. Here's -1. Here's -2. -14 elevenths is going to be right around here. And it's greater than or equal to that one. So it's going to be that way. You can also just put -14 divided by 11 into your calculator and see the number you get as a decimal and try to guesstimate that way. So here is the interval notation of -14 elevenths to positive infinity. Here again, we're going to multiply everything over here by 2, multiply everything on this side by 2. That cancels that. -3x plus 6 is less than or equal to 12 times 2 is 24. Subtract 6, subtract 6. 24 minus 6 is 18. -3x is less than or equal to 18. Divide by -3, divide by -3. Let's move that up here because I'm out of space. -3x over -3 was less than or equal to positive 18 over -3. Remember that because we have this negative, we're going to flip that sign. Negative divided by negative just leaves us with x. Greater than or equal to 18 divided by 3 is 6, but a positive divided by a negative is a -6. So x is greater than or equal to -6. Here's -6. Greater than is that way. Bracket 4 equals 2. So we have a bracket -6 to infinity. Here only part of our equation is a fraction, but you still do the exact same thing as if an entire half was part of a fraction. I want to get rid of a 7 on the bottom, so I'm going to multiply everything on both sides by 7 on the top. And that's the same as just regular 7. So that cancels. I have q plus 7 times 1 is 7. Greater than -5 times 7 is -35. Good. Subtract 7. Subtract 7. I get q is greater than -42. Sorry, I couldn't see that. -42. It's greater than. So we'll have parentheses -42 to infinity. Here we're going to distribute the 2. 2t plus 6 is greater than or equal to 16. Subtract the 6. I get 2t is greater than or equal to 10. Divide by 2. It's a positive, so we don't need to worry about changing the sign. T is greater than or equal to 5. Here's 5. It's greater than 5, so it'll be bracket 5 to infinity. All right, this page is still linear inequalities because we only have two sides to it, but we're just getting more complex in how we solve for it. So here I'm going to distribute the 5. 5 times k, the quantity k plus 8 minus 7 is less than or equal to 23. Distribute the 5, I get 5k plus 40 less than 7 is less than or equal to 23. 5k, 40 minus 7 is 33, less than or equal to 23. Subtract the 33. I get 5k is less than or equal to negative 10. Good. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. K is less than or equal to negative 2. Negative 2 less than bracket. Don't worry about set builder notation. We're not really covering it in this class. Negative infinity to negative 2. Good. There's a variable on both sides of the inequality sign. 4k plus 5 is greater than negative 2k plus 3. I can't combine any like terms without crossing the inequality sign, so I'll just decide which side I want my variable. I want my variable on the left because that left number is bigger. The right hand number is negative, so that's not, it's going to make it more difficult if I make them both negative, right? 4 plus 2 is 6k, so I have 6k plus 15 is greater than 3. Subtract the 15, subtract the 15. 6k is greater than negative 12 because 5 minus 15 minus 3 is 12, but 15 is a negative, so it's a negative 12. Divide by 6, divide by 6. K is greater than negative 2. This is negative, but this is positive, so we do not change the sign. Here's negative 2. K is greater than negative 2, so it's parentheses. The arrow's going that way. Parentheses negative 2 to infinity. Here we have 6 times the quantity w plus 1 is greater than the 2 times the quantity w plus 5. Negative 6w minus 6 is less than 2w plus 10. Same thing. I'm going to add 6w, add 6w. I have negative 6 is less than 8w plus 10. Subtract 10. I get negative 16 is less than 8w. Divide by 8. Divide by 8. Negative 2 is less than w, or w is greater than negative 2. Here's negative 2. W is greater than negative 2. Negative 2 to infinity. This will be 4h plus 4 is less than 6h plus 10 minus 12, right? Now I can combine these. They are like terms. So I have 4h plus 4 is less than 6h minus 2. So I will subtract 4h, subtract 4h. I'll get 4 is less than 2h minus 2. Add the 2. 6 is less than 2h. Divide by 2. And I get 3 is less than h, or h is greater than positive 3. Here's 3. It's greater than, so we're going to say, 3 to infinity. Again, we're just distributing that 2. So we have 3e plus 2 times 4 is 8e plus 2 times 2 is 4. Less than or equal to 2 times 6 is 12e plus 2. I will combine these two like terms. I have 11e plus 4 less than or equal to 12e plus 2. I'm going to subtract the 11e because I don't like the e being negative. So I have 4 is less than or equal to e, or 1e plus 2. Subtract 2. 2 is less than or equal to e, or e is greater than or equal to 2. Here's 2, a bracket going that way, bracket 2 to infinity. All right, here we have 4x minus 7 times 2x plus 8. 4x minus 7 times 2 is 14x. Remember, it's a negative 7, so negative 7 times 8 is negative 56, right? Less than or equal to 3x minus 5. 4x minus 14x is a negative 10x minus 56, less than or equal to 3x minus 5. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. Sorry, add 10x to both sides. I get negative 56, less than or equal to 13x minus 5. I'll add 5 to both sides, and I get negative 51, less than or equal to 13x. Negative 51 divided by 13, oops, negative 51 divided by 13 is negative 51 over 13. Less than or equal to x. Good. Our decimal was negative 3.92, so if it was close to 4, close to a negative 4, and it's less than that number, less than or equal to that number, so it'll be a bracket going that way. Good. Interval notation would be negative infinity to negative 51/13 with a bracket. All right, let's look at a graph and see if we can write it in interval notation. Remember, that's a bracket, it's parentheses, that's parentheses, that's a bracket, that's parentheses, parentheses. All right. I wouldn't worry about 2 or 4. We're just doing we're just doing and those are or. So we're going to start with a bracket at negative 6, and we're going to go to 8 with parentheses. Here we're going to start with a parentheses at negative 10, and we're going to a positive 10 with parentheses. A compound inequality just means x is in the middle for and. So you just need to solve for x by doing the same thing instead of to both sides, to all 3 sides. So negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6 is less than x, which is less than 1. Good. So for interval notation, it's from negative 6 to 1, and there was no equal to. Sorry, our inequality was negative 6 less than x less than 1. Here's negative 6. Here's 1. We have a line. Again, we're just solving for x, so I'm going to subtract 1, subtract 1, subtract 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. 4x in the middle. 13 minus 1 is 12. Divide everything by 4. 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3. They both have the equal to symbol, so we're going to start at 1 with a bracket and end at 3 with a bracket. from 1 to 3. Sorry. And finally, just a little bit more practice. We're not going to do these last two. Don't worry about or, it's not on the exam. Add 1, add 1, add 1. 9 is less than 3x, which is less than or equal to 12. Divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. I get 3 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 4. 3 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 4. Interval notation would be parentheses 3, 4 with bracket, parentheses 3, 4 with bracket. Add 10, add 10, add 10. 1 less than or equal to x, less than or equal to positive 5. 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 5. It starts at 1 with a bracket, ends at 5 with a bracket. So the graph looks like that. Interval notation looks like that.